My name is João. I come from Portugal. My experience with free jazz is quite short. I was introduced to free jazz, playing free jazz in Hong Kong around 2 years ago. I feel more comfortable communicating through musical language than actually through words, you know. Any conversation will take us to a point that we all feel comfortable with what we play. We all feel comfortable with the other is playing. We feel that there is more communication. So I kind of come to the stage, or when we meet to play, I play, and once we finish play, I don't really want to think about it.
That was the Blue Koi Collective. Our next performance comes from the group Multi Culti, led by trumpet player and multi-instrumentalist Don Cherry. Don Cherry started his career as a professional bebop musician while still a teenager. In the latter half of the 1950s, he had a chance encounter with saxophonist Ornette Coleman in a record store. This set his future as one of the leading names in avant-garde jazz in motion. Soon he was playing with Ornette Coleman's seminal quartet, featuring Billy Higgins on the drums and Charlie Hayden on the bass. In 1958, they cut the landmark album Something Else, ushering in the free jazz movement. The next composition is called Rumba Multi Culti. This also features Peter Applebaum on the piano and saxophone, Bo Freeman on the bass, and Joshua Jones on the drums.
By the dawn of the 1970s, Don Cherry was touring Europe, Asia, and Africa regularly and becoming versed in the musical heritage of a variety of countries. He began learning to play many different instruments and finally settled on his favorite, the Pakistani pocket trumpet. Meanwhile, Cherry also began to incorporate influences from various ethnic musics into his own jazz work. He's most known for setting the cornerstone for the prosperity of world music. Cherry's main contribution to free jazz was that he created a unique thematic catalog. This meant that a list of alternatives could be chosen from during a performance. Spontaneously deciding to pick a theme from that catalog at a given time and in a given musical context is itself an act of improvisation. Cherry would repeat themes several times in ostinato fashion, gradually getting away from mere literal repetition and evolving variants of it. Next on More Than Jazz, some freewheeling musicians present their own approaches to playing free jazz. All are stunning yet playful. Stay tuned.
Jazz.
Welcome back to More Than Jazz. Today our topic is the free jazz movement. We're now going to welcome pianist Gabriel Meirano to tell us a little bit about how he thinks about performing free jazz.
The thing that everybody mentions when you're talking about free jazz is the fact that everything is allowed. I suppose this is correct to a certain extent. It is correct in a way that you have no restriction, no limitation. But that definitely doesn't mean that anything you play, it would be okay. I personally prefer the expression free improvisation. I think is a wider concept. I think when we talk about free jazz, it became a little bit too much of a label. Because of the experimental nature of this kind of music, musicians started adopting less orthodox techniques, like for example using the interior of the piano to create sound. Like, for example, just plucking the strings. Or by placing objects on the strings, like this.
Well, thanks to Gabriel for giving us his thoughts about free jazz. Every musician is a unique individual and approaches free improvisation in his or her own ways. We're now going to watch a short video from a documentary on the avant-garde saxophonist John Zorn. Zorn believes that the age of the composer as an autonomous musical mind had come to an end at the end of the 20th century. As a result, he focuses on a more collaborative music making. We're going to see how he realizes his musical concepts with unique and sometimes playful methods.
Okay, all these little squares on the left side of the page are these cards here. Okay, see them? They all relate to these different cards. At any time in the piece, get my attention, anybody in the group can get my attention and call for any one of these cards. So I'll tell you what each one of these cards does.
It is possible to call John Zorn a jazz musician, but that would be too limiting a description. While the feeling of jazz is present in a good deal of his work, as is the idea of improvisation, Zorn doesn't operate within any clearly defined framework. He draws from just about any musical, cultural, or noise source.
Now we take a musician like John Zorn. He's part of this effort to explore the boundaries of composed music and improvised music. And he's done some amazing experiments. And he uses free improvisation as a raw material to be shaped and formed by new devices. Maybe it's written down, maybe it's not. Maybe it's an idea that he has in his head and he describes it to the musicians playing for him. Or maybe he has a whole series of cards which have, a certain meaning to him, and he can pick them up and tell somebody to improvise using a certain idea, a certain time restriction or something like that.
Systems, the mouth systems, which are cued by pointing to your mouth, and then a number. Say mouth 4, I pick out yellow 4. With this one, the people who are playing must fade out, and the people who are not playing must fade in. Everybody's involved. Then there's the events. When the card comes down, everybody independently does 3 sound events, which can be long or short, loud or quiet, whatever material you want. But you do 3 events that are separated by silences. Then there's duo. When the card comes down, the person who made the call picks a partner and plays a duo with them. So this is like an improvising system. It's like a game. You can play duos as long or short as you want with whoever you want, as many times as you want, as long as this card is in effect. And it's in effect until someone calls something different. This system could last for 5 seconds, or it could last for 5 minutes. It's completely up to the most impatient person in the group.